I was just up at my dad's place for another week. He's recovering from hip surgery, but I was reflecting more on love. And if you have been tracking with me for a while, you understand that love is the one I have struggled with the most. Of my three moves that I believe that are essential as part of this existential shift, it's a move from faith to wonder, from hope to acceptance, and from love to empathy. But in each case, you encounter a monster, a specter, I call them, but that you have to face. And with faith, we have to face the monster of inyarus, or ignorance, the fact that no matter what story we tell, all belief is make belief. And so, what do we do in that world? Well, we choose wonder and then enter into our adventure. And with hope, we have to face the fact that every end is a dead end, that every time we seek the end of the rainbow, we get there, and it's not the end of the rainbow. There's always more, but it's just like vanity. What's the point? And so we come to accept this and then learn to live a life of play. So for the first two, it's a move from faith to living life as adventure, as an expression of my story. A move from hope to play. So instead of hoping for the end of the rainbow, my life is an expression of play. Faith and hope. But what about love? I have struggled so much with love because I have sensed from the beginning there's something rotten about love and the way that we think about love. And the specter, what I have called this monster that must be defeated, is rapax. Like rape. But when you look up the word rapax in a Latin dictionary, you get a definition like this: predatory or ravenous, tearing, furious, violent, grasping, greedy, rapacious, insatiable. And so there are all these adjectives that describe the way the world works. And yet, we want to think that we are good, that we are virtuous creatures, that we're not like that we're just giving, and what rapax tears away for me is the mask of virtue. And so I even define love now as the mask of virtue worn by desire. We are creatures of desire. Everything is a creature of desire. We never do anything that is not driven by self-interest. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because we want to think that we are good creatures, better than others, that we are righteous and morally virtuous. But, the Bible says there is none that is righteous. There is not even one. While at the same time telling us that we must be righteous. And so that creates all kinds of tension and theology. And I'll avoid, going into all the machinations of the Bible to try to work through this problem that we have, that we say God is good, and yet we live in this world filled with rapax, filled with not just be us. I mean, the whole world seems to be based on this. So for me, rapax, what it tears away is this illusion of moral virtue. We're all the same. I'm the same as the lion and the lamb and the mosquito and the hawk and my wife and every other creature in this world. And that for me has been profoundly liberating. With each of the moves, there's a sense of freedom when you face the specter. So, for example, with faith, when I face my ignorance and honestly look at that, face up, that's why I call it facing up, when I honestly face up to the fact that I am ignorant, it opens the door to wonder. When I face the fact that I can never reach the end of the rainbow, it opens a door to acceptance and play. When I face the fact that I live in a world filled with predators, that I am a predator, that's just how the world is, and I just discard this whole idea of moral virtue, it opens a door to empathy. I'm no longer judging other things for being what I am. And that includes my wife, that includes my dad, whom I was with this weekend, my siblings, anything. I mean, what's to judge? And so, okay, well, if I'm not going to judge, how do I live in this world? And my conclusion is that the most satisfying way to be in this world is to live in harmony with other things, to find a way to come together and to be ourselves together. Sure, I can attack and I can devour other people, but it's really empty. There's this joy in connecting with the world around me and with other people in a harmonious way. Being ourselves together is the most desirable way to live. And so I say that I choose harmony, empathy and harmony, not because I am good, but because it is good. So to put this in a very practical way, I just have been trying to like live this, and it's become very practical for me. So now I want to give you an example of how this has played out. And so, okay, I might be sitting there with my dad, and this didn't exactly happen, but this is the kind of thing that happens all the time, I think, in every human interaction. So let's say I put, I don't know, I put the rag on the wrong place on the counter. And Dad might say to me, "Why did you put the rag, over on top of the stove?" Okay, now when I hear something like that, I don't hear, "I would prefer the rag over there," and say, I hear, "You are an idiot," or "You are in the wrong. You have made a mistake. You are not righteous, because the rag belongs on the rag holder, not on the stove. And therefore defend thyself," which I do. I say, "Well, you told me not to put it on the rag holder when there were dishes in the sink." And yeah, he'll say, "But any fool can plainly see that, yeah, but, and back and forth we go. We're not really talking about where to put the rag anymore. We're talking about who is righteous. And I think you'll see that in most conflict with other people, the real issue is who is in the wrong and who is in the right. And it is so liberating to just let that go. So, for example, and I experienced things like this week with my dad, where, he would say something, "Okay, why did you put the rag on top of the stove?" Rather than saying, "Well, you told me blah, blah," or trying to defend myself, I can just say, "Where would you like it?" and just move it there. Because I'm not judging him for wanting the rag to be somewhere else. And I refuse to take the bait of a battle over who is right and who is wrong. It is incredibly liberating to release this mask of righteousness that we wear, this idea that I am good. And as I think was talking about last week, I mean, when you really look at the word good, really what you mean by good is desirable. A good man is a desirable man. A good piece of fruit is a desirable. Good just means desirable. And love, really, most of the time we use the word, just means desire. Now, of course, love, the word, has a huge semantic range, and it can mean all kinds of things, including empathy and compassion and all kinds of things like that. But really, most of the time, we think of love, when we use the word love, we just mean desire. And it's just such a relief to admit that. I am a creature of desire. You are a creature of desire. How can we be ourselves together? Releasing that mask of righteousness is just so liberating. I'm looking at my journal here for the notes I wrote. So, yeah, I think I'll leave it at that today, and just encourage you perhaps to take a look at your conflict with others today. Well, it could be the driver on the road, and why don't I just spell that out? Okay, I'm driving down the road, and I get into this, somebody wants to cut in, and you're being a jerk, you're being wrong, you're a bad person because you rode up on my tail and then tried to cut in. And so I honk, and my honk means you are bad. You are morally wrong. And the human response is, no, I'm not. You are wrong because you know, from their perspective, who knows? I was too slow, or I made my own stupid, selfish move to get in the place I am. And so who is in the right is the big argument in road rage. It's not, I mean, objectively, what does it matter? One car ahead, one car behind, it's not going to make really any difference. And so even driving in horrible Seattle traffic, and Seattle traffic is horrible, I found that, you know, just to like let go of the idea that I am in the right and it doesn't matter. Now, obviously we want to drive in a harmonious way. So I seek to live and drive in a harmonious way. And sometimes someone may need a little blast of the horn to say, hey, you're not being harmonious here. But if I can just release this mask of self-righteousness, it's so liberating. Oh, gosh, I'm sorry, I ramble on, but I also have found this to be so liberating in how I think of myself, because it is so easy to judge myself. To say, oh, you are wrong, Maury, you are bad, you are unrighteous, you are unworthy. And just to say, no, you're not. You're just hungry. You're just a creature of desire. You're expressing your desire. And to have empathy on myself for expressing my own desire, but then, you know, not to just then say, well, okay, just, you know, devour whatever you want, but to go on to say, well, how do I treat myself in a harmonious way? Like, really, am I being harmonious if I eat the whole bag of potato chips? I mean, it tastes good, sure. And if you eat it, you eat it, you know, like, no judgment. But like, do you really want to eat a whole bag of potato chips? It makes you sick, it makes you fat, it makes you unhealthy, you know, it's like, it's not harmonious, right? It's not a harmonious way to be. But what I'm saying is, like, when I can stop judging myself for eating the potato chips and just say, do you want to eat a whole bag of potato chips? Well, actually, no, that's not, I mean, that's like self-destructive, and I can see, no. When I get this whole idea of moral virtue out of the equation and just ask the question, you know, with empathy for myself, how do I live in harmony? I can choose not to eat the potato chips with no judgment, with no, you know, like self-condemnation. It's just so counterproductive to live that way. So Rapax, I am learning to love it, and still, as you can tell from this video, I am still working to express this clearly. But I am experiencing a real liberation in letting Rapax devour the illusion of my righteousness, and just forgetting about that, and just accepting the fact that I am Rapax, you are Rapax. We live in a world of Rapax. Everything is predatory, everything is self-centered. But well, first of all, that allows me to empathize with everything. But the most enjoyable way to live is in harmony with other things. So how do I do that? And letting that be the determining factor in my life, rather than, you know, righteousness, who's in the right and who's in the wrong. That's just a dead end. We're all predators. So just, you know, relax, quit judging yourself, quit judging other people. Judge not, lest ye be judged.